Welcome to Unscripted Gaming. I'm
Mike.
Josh. We are gathering together today for a special podcast. We're doing our 2015 Game
Slow
of
down,
the
partner.
Year.
Not ready.
I know,
for
it's
that.
crazy.
Can't do that to me.
Some of you, depending on the order of which our podcasts that have been recorded in the last couple days come out, we may or may not have lied to you. We said Stan would be back for everything. Stan's not back for this one.
Oops.
So,
Unscripted.
yeah. But he'll be back after this one. Yeah,
That's-
unscripted. He had to
that's
do
just
things
how it
that
works.
aren't this, so fuck it, we'll do it
Unscripted.
live. Yeah, so I guess, speaking of unscripted, we probably should have talked about how we're going to do this before we got started, but hey,
Unscripted.
we're here, we're doing it, we're live.
Let's just. Well,
See
we
how
have. We kind of did some different lists here. We have each of our just top 5 games of 2015. I believe we both have a couple of honorable mentions.
Yes.
And then Josh, you have prepared another list as well. We'll see how much that kind of gets. I have a feeling we'll probably cover at least some of that. And
Yeah, I think what'll happen is I have like a honorable mentions of 2015, and then an honorable mentions of 2014, like games that either got ported a year later and or were so good that I got back and checked on them and played a lot of them this year, even over some other games. So
old
give them
games
their
of
own
2015.
honorable mention. Yeah, the old game of 2015. So, do you want to start with the honorable mentions, or do we want to go through, each of us starting with number 5, work our way up to number 1, then after that we can go through our honorable mentions?
Let's bang out our honorable mentions and then just kind of quick hit, and then we'll go 5-5, 4-4, 3-3, kind of back and forth like that. How's that sound? Scripting
Sounds
unscripted
good.
gaming. That's what I bring to the table.
We're kind of pulling back the curtain here a little bit, so you get to see
the process.
The production that goes behind these. I know it's pretty spectacular.
Well, hey,
I'm envious of you
let
folks
me
out
pull
there
up
getting
my
to listen to
Word
this right
document
now.
here, and I have 3 honorable mentions. The first one on here is Undertale, and I think it's one of my honorable mentions because I haven't quite finished it yet, but it's been an outstanding experience, and I've loved everything I've played so far, and I can't wait to finish it. So I felt bad not putting it in my top 5 because I've really loved it. But it's just just the principle of the thing, like it's kind of there on a technicality. I really like that game. It's really cool.
Yeah, I'm right there with Mikey. That is also on my honorable mentions list when I was writing my list of games that I've played. Obviously, I haven't completed it either, but I've gotten about the first 2 hours in. It's the first game in a long time that's made me laugh audibly out loud. I'm really enjoying the humor of that game.
Which is something, it's very hard to do. It doesn't usually work well,
Yeah, absolutely. Comedy writing in that fashion is tough.
It's got some great music.
And the combat system, I am very much intrigued by it and seeing how they incorporate that throughout the game, how that grows and evolves. I've really kind of enjoyed that so far, and a kind of active / turn-based combat system.
Yeah, it's
kind of nice.
It's a really cool game.
Plus, Lesser Dog is baller.
Lesser Dog is pretty cool. That's the sound of his head going all the way around the screen.
Yeah,
that's one of my honorable mentions. Another honorable mention, I knew you would be mad if I put it in my top 5, so I didn't, is Destiny. Are you happy? Are you happy?
I appreciate that. Is that your
It's
old
a fun
game of 2015?
That technically didn't release the vanilla didn't release in 2015, but 2015 was the year it got good, and 2015 is the year I played it, and
Get good, son.
really, really liked it, and have had a lot of fun with it. So that's why it's on my honorable mention list. So stop, go away. There you go.
My other honorable mention is Her Story. I didn't personally play it, but I Didn't personally play it, but I watched my wife and her brother play through it, and that was a very interesting story. Very good use of FMV. Very basic in its game design, but a lot of depth to be had there. Kind of piecing this puzzle together. It's very good. My old game of 2015, for me, definitely had to be Wolfenstein: The New Order. Heard a lot of really good things about that game. Finally just decided to pick it up on a whim. Booted it up and was blown away by that game. Very good. Very good story, very good characters. Gameplay is wonderful. The visuals are stunning. Yeah, I've just really enjoyed that game, and that was definitely the game of 2014 that kept bringing me back. And my last honorable mention, Grand Theft Auto 5. I know it came out in 14, didn't get ported to the PC until 15, seeing as I only have a PC, that's when I played it on. Very good game, very good story. Haven't finished it yet because it's big, and then a lot of other things came out like Metal Gear Solid and Fallout, but
yeah, that's cool.
Very good game nonetheless.
Duck Game is on my honorable mentions as well, because that's a really fun game. Dedicated Quack button.
Nice.
Well, hey, do you want to, now that we got to kind of release some of our honorables out of the way, do you want to bang through our top 5 here?
Yeah, let's do it. Number 5. Number 5 game of the
Alright,
year.
do you want to start? What's your number 5?
I'll start.
What's your number 5?
My number 5 is Fallout 4.
Cool.
For me, I struggle with even putting it on the list. That's not to say that I haven't very much enjoyed Fallout. It's not to say I haven't loved that game. But there's just a lot that could have been better. And I can't help but sit there as I play it, enjoying what's going on, seeing the areas where they could have improved it rather easily to make it a bit more than just another Fallout game. Which, again, not to say it's a bad thing. I'm very much enjoying the game, put a lot of hours into it, getting pretty close to the end. Constantly I'm thinking about when's the next chance I'm going to get to play it. But, again, I can't put aside some of those things that they could have added to make it a better product. And that's why it falls pretty low on the list for me.
Good to know. Yeah, do you feel like you're actively disappointed by that game in any way? Or?
Sometimes, yes. I think there are a few of the story beats that they really could have expanded on a bit more or handled a little better. I think some of the quests have a lot of potential to be really intriguing, and they kind of just let it fall. And I think some of the faction stuff is a little too, I don't want to say easy, but it's just not as impactful or having as much impact on the world as you might like. And plus, I get caught up from time to time in I have to make a decision that locks me in one camp and turns me away from another entirely, and that's very hard for me to do.
Interesting.
Yeah. But again, still a good game. I'm still very much looking forward to completing it. But again, there are some things they could have done and added, I think, with the time they had on that game to make it better.
Cool. My number 5 game is Grow Home. The adorable little adventure of a drunk little robot named Bud, climbing up this cool vine that he grows back to his spaceship. And I really, kind of like another game here on my list down later, it really kind of came out of nowhere, and it's a 3D platformer it's a platforming game, but it's so unique compared to something like, Super Mario 3D World, which is that's probably my old game of 2015. because that game is incredible. It's so good. But Grow Home is just such a fresh take on that kind of 3D platformer. It has a really cool style. The control, like the mechanics of it, are really fun. It's a really cool like environment. It's cool like explore all the environments. It's certainly not a very long game by any means, but it's something I enjoyed. I enjoyed a lot, and I still think it's something I really like this year. It's really cool. It's definitely worth a look. So that's my number 5. What's your number 4, Josh?
For me, my number 4 is a game I talked about on the podcast one time. It's a mobile game called Lifeline. It is a solely text-based adventure game in which you receive transmission from a stranded astronaut named Taylor, and you help them make decisions to hopefully keep them alive and help rescue them off this planet. And, that's basically it. But the writing of that story is so good, and you really start to feel for the character. And it's done through real-time notifications on your phone. So let's say you tell Taylor to go do something. It kind of will idle for a while in the background while Taylor is doing that task. And then, an hour or so later, it'll pop back up and say, all right, I've done this thing now. Now what, kind of. But that game kept me engaged through the entire time. Like, even when I would fuck up and kill Taylor accidentally, I'm like, all right, we're going back, and I'm not stopping, and not stopping till we get through it. And the sequel actually just came out right around Christmas, and I picked it up sight unseen because I just enjoyed that game so much. It helped that it was on my phone, and it reminded me that it was there, but most of the time I didn't need reminded because I was like, when's Taylor going to be done doing this thing so I can find out what happens?
Taylor, please finish. Help.
Taylor, don't die.
Don't die. It's like The Martian, the game. Kind of.
It kind of is, and there were some times where I made audible noises of excitement, fear, scared, whatever you want to call it, depending on the situation, all from a single line of text.
It's kind of cool, how much of that just kind of works. That's a really unique sounding game. That's really cool. I'll have to take a look.
Yeah, it was very good. I very much enjoyed that.
Cool.
What about you, Mike? What's
My
your
number 4 is Mario Maker. Mario's
making the Marios.
Making the Marios. Well, Mario Maker is a fun game. I didn't really grow up playing Super Mario Brothers. It wasn't like my first childhood memory as a game, but I've played them. I appreciate them, and I mean, I certainly enjoy it. I really like playing all the levels. I mean, all the Nintendo made ones, all the user made ones. That's really cool. Seeing normally I'm kind of overwhelmed with creative games like that. For example, something like Little Big Planet is kind of with all the tutorials. It's just oh my god, it's like I have to do so much homework to even really attempt to make anything. The one thing I really appreciate about Mario Maker is just, I mean, it's a very simple kind of you're only working in 2 dimensions. And everyone kind of knows the rules of Mario, how mechanically it works. So much of that was already just stuff I had known, and the level building, just the design of that and how intuitive it is so good, and it feels so cool to make levels and tweak them. And I haven't crafted anything particularly diabolical, but it's been really fun. It's really cool. I really like that game.
Too low. Excuse me. Sorry.
What? Okay, it's a good game. It's a good game.
Sorry, I got a little something in my throat there. I had to clear it out. My apologies.
Just put it in the comments, Josh, okay? Just put it in the comments, okay? What's your number 3?
I will.
Okay, what is it?
My number 3 is one of your honorable mentions. Duck Game.
Shit, I knew it. That's a good game.
It is a very good game, and this is a game that has swept my last week and a half by storm. You know, dedicated quack button. What's wrong with that? And I know it's in the same vein as Towerfall, and there's a lot of games like that, but I never really played those games. Never really interested me or spoke to me in any real way that I felt like I needed to play that. But man, something about Duck Game is so good, and when you put 15 hours into a game that you've only had for a week or so,
and it's a game
it's a good
like
sign
Duck Game, which is a mostly multiplayer kind of game. That game's awesome. It's so good.
Yeah, it grabbed my group of friends by storm. We're constantly playing with each other, playing that game. And I think we mentioned this in an earlier podcast. You know, when the call goes out for Duck Game,
it's a race.
Everybody races
to get into the.
And when you don't make it, you're bummed out. Usually, it's like, oh well, there's not enough spots for me in this game. That's fine. I can go play something else. But it's like, man, fuck, I can't play Duck Game. You know, I'm gonna still load Duck Game, have it ready just in case somebody gets out, so I can get in quick.
DDoS someone, so they lose their internet connection, so someone else can play Duck Game.
Exactly. You know, it's a simple game to learn and pick up, but there's a lot of surprising amount of depth to it as you get to learn it. And god damn it, I love that game.
It
went from unknown to third on my list of the year, just like that.
Just on one dedicated quack button.
God damn it, that quack button.
Well.
What about you, Mike?
Number 3.
Game number 3.
Can you guess? Why don't you guess what it is? Can you guess what it is?
It's I'm gonna say. No, I don't know, because I think I know what your top 2 are, but I don't know what 3 is.
Ooh.
Does it start with a B?
Yes.
Bloodborne.
Hey, well, I'll give you the credit there. Yeah, I really liked Bloodborne. Dark Souls 2 is good. I didn't like it as much as Dark Souls 1. But it's still certainly a pretty enjoyable game. But from the moment I think I first saw a trailer for Bloodborne, you could sense the craft, like
Man, words are hard.
Oh my god. Just the level of craft that had gone into making that world, and just this, like, the setting and style of that game is
detail.
Exactly. The attention to detail there is just so creepy and so unique and so cool. And that's just kind of the surface. It eventually goes, and it kind of starts off as like this kind of Victorian era horror, and then kind of descends down this path of like it kind of goes into this weird cosmic kind of direction, and let me just see here. It's like it just kind of goes into this like Lovecraftian thing, all like so gradually that you almost don't even notice it until it's happening, and it's really cool. And the gameplay for me, it has been as sharp as ever. It kind of took what the basics of what I liked about Dark Souls, the pacing, the kind of the importance of timing, and added a little bit more speed. There's less variety in terms of the builds you can do, but I think all the weapon designs are really cool and fit the world so well. The lore is really interesting to me. And the challenge never felt like it was unfairly challenging. It felt so good for me to just, like for all their other games, just to myself to get so much better at that game, to, overcome even just the little obstacles here and there. That man, that game's really cool. I really like that game. Bam. That's my Bloodborne bit.
Bloodborne. Nice. So that's game number
I should play more
3
Bloodborne.
for
That sounds fun.
Mike.
I'm gonna do.
Or you can just hold off until Dark Souls 3 comes out.
Yes. Give it to me. Number 2. What's your number 2, Josh?
Number 2 for me is Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain.
Oh, that's weird. Oh, interesting thoughts.
You know, depending on the order of release of our podcasts that have been recorded over the past few days, we just spent 2.5 hours talking with Stan about Metal Gear Solid and just about how important that franchise has been. And how it's kind of come into our lives in the last year and really just kind of taken over everything to the point where, I've never played any of the Metal Gear Solid games, but picked this one up to play. It's a phenomenally gorgeous game, phenomenally beautiful. It's the same thing I said, not beautiful. Well controlling. The great story.
The gameplay itself is so good.
Yeah, it's so tight. The game runs well. It looks good. I love playing that game. I was chomping at the bit to record a Metal Gear podcast so that I could just go back and play more Metal Gear Solid and just get to be in that world some more and hang out with Snake and bitch about Miller and love Ocelot to death.
Yes.
God damn it, Miller.
Okay.
Great characters, great story. There are some things though that kind of let me down. I kind of wish there were more cutscenes in that game, to be honest with you. And I wish so much of the story and the lore and background of that story wasn't locked behind cassette tapes and in that fact. It's nice that you can listen to some of those things while you're doing missions, but I have a hard time doing that and focusing on both things. And would have liked to see that
more
a little
more of what you saw or heard in cassette tapes was something that happened via cutscene or like codec.
Yeah, something you actually experienced and watched happen or were a part of. Which, I understand why that decision was made, but that doesn't change the fact that I wish that. And then another thing that kind of took it off the top of the list was the fact that some of the post-release changes that they have been making, especially with the online FOB stuff, is just awful.
It's a little interesting. I'm not gonna lie. Like FOB insurance is just like, man, that's such a shitty thing. Why would you do that? Ugh.
And I appreciate that day and date the PC did come out with the console versions, which wasn't originally going to happen. But the Metal Gear Online stuff, they should have been able to do the same thing. Release it on the consoles as well as the PC at the same time. The fact that we still don't have that.
Yeah, when does that come out for PC? That should be pretty soon.
It should be pretty soon, I do believe. But, I love that game. I very much enjoyed it. I'm sure I'll play through it again at some point. But, and as we'll talk about on my number 1, had this game not come to PC, I probably wouldn't have played it. I probably wouldn't buy a console to play that game. But, great game. Number 2. Not saying it's bad. There's just a few post-release changes that knocked it down on the list.
Well, hey, my number 2 is Rocket League. Rocket League is a game I had no idea existed, or I'd never heard of the company. I know they've done some previous games, never heard of that. Came out on PS Plus, I'm like, oh, this looks cool. And it's really cool. It's one of the best sports games, if you want to call it that, I've ever played. First of all, it's gorgeous. The music's great. But the gameplay has such a great, it's easy to learn, difficult to master, kind of dynamic. There's a lot of room for growth. You can play as much or as little of it as you want. Like if you just want to hop in for one quick game, then that turns into one more game. And it just feels so cool when you pull off the perfect across the field shot. I feel so agonizing when you miss the one thing that send it to overtime. It's just, and playing it with some friends has been awesome. That, and for some, part of the reason why it's up so high for me is just because it blew every expectation I had I had for it out of the water. And that game, it's just, and they've, unlike some other games, they've done such a good job. It got so much better after release. I mean, you know, they added some cosmetic DLC, but they also added things like mutators. You could play with like a hockey puck now, or like turn on infinite boost and just mess around with crazy stuff like that. But
you should get infinite boost after scoring a goal every time.
That would be pretty cool. That would be, I would desire that. Please, I'm on board for that. But even with all those new additions, the core gameplay is just so good. It is so fun. It's so simple, but it's so fun.
And it's cross-platform,
Yeah,
right?
you can
I don't
play
know
on-
if you mentioned that, but you can play. The consoles can play with players on PC and vice versa, which
That's
is
cool.
pretty
I
spectacular.
don't think that'll be the case when it comes to Xbox One, unfortunately, but you know, it's still cool that they even. I mean, no one does that, but it's been really cool for me because I played it on PS4 and some of our friends have it on PC. So it's been, yeah, that's a really good game. Good lord. All right.
Pretty incredible. Number one.
I don't know. Should we keep your
Ready
number
for
one
this?
secret? To build the tension here? I'll just go with my number one because it's already been mentioned. My number one game is Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. Because, I absolutely acknowledge things, criticisms like the story kind of being unfinished, or certainly leaving some plot hooks hanging. The weird Konami post-release online update stuff. Just the whole kind of hubbub surrounding that game. Despite all those factors, the story, or the story that is in that game, and in terms of how it just contributes to the whole timeline itself, I thought was super interesting. The core gameplay is so good. It's just infinitely replayable, at least for me. There's so many different ways to do the same missions. It's different buddies, different loadouts, different times of day, different gadgets, and all that variety and how all those missions work, and just so many exciting different ways to tackle it each time. I've played a bit of Metal Gear Online. I've really enjoyed that. I'm looking to get back to more of that soon. That game looks gorgeous. Those cutscenes that are in there are all so good. I mean, even dating back, I was the person who put, I'm the weird guy who puts about 50 hours into Ground Zeroes, which for most people was just a one playthrough thing of like the 2 hour mission. And those other missions, just that the core gameplay of that, despite Ground Zeroes is obviously of a very small scope in terms of compared to the Phantom Pain, but that gameplay and just all the variety, even with just in such a kind of a smaller package, was just enough to keep bringing me back for more and more and more. And for Ground Zeroes to do that, I think just shows how much I loved that. I love that gameplay. And so for the Phantom Pain to take what I loved so much about the gameplay in Ground Zeroes and the storytelling in Ground Zeroes, to blow that out and just add even more of it and make it deeper, and add the mother base management, which is I really liked things like FOB, which I'm a weirdo and like doing that. Even just things like designing guns, listening to like 80s music when you're driving across the desert. You have a dog with an eye patch. Like all of that stuff.
D-Dog is pretty baller.
With all the surrounding kind of elements, packaged with that gameplay that is so incredibly fun, and a story and just more of a story and universe that I am super interested in, just makes it such a damn good video game and one of my favorites of all time, and certainly of this year.
Nice. So Mike's number 1, Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. I mean, the Phantom Pain.
I mean that. That's my old game of 2015.
Stop it. Just fucking stop it. All right.
And
I guess there's nothing left than to get into my number 1. My number 1 game of the year, boys and girls, Super Mario Maker.
what?
Yeah.
Yes.
As everybody knows, I do not own a Wii U, but I did get the chance recently to visit Mike in person and play his copy of it. And I probably played it for an hour or two, both in front of everybody, getting them, letting our wives laugh at my failure over and over again, and also on the gamepad on my own, playing different levels that I have watched streamed 1,000 times. That is unequivocally just an amazing product. It's something that I never knew that I wanted, but now that I know it exists, it's the best of everything I've ever wanted. You know, I grew up playing a lot of Mario. Go back and play Mario Brothers a lot, but some of the later levels get a little frustrated because they're harder, and I'm like, I haven't played it a lot, or I play in bursts, you make a lot of progress, but then you run out of lives and you die and you lose all that progress, and it's really frustrating in it. I have watched more hours of people playing Super Mario Maker than possibly any other game besides Super Metroid. I have not had a game in a long time that has made me seek out content about it, watching people make levels, watching people play levels, watching the Dan Reichert, Patrick Klepek saga unfold, looking out other different kinds of levels, people making Zelda levels and Metroid levels in the game.
And I think even, you built a couple levels while you were visiting us here as well, and even just seeing like your gears turn and like, oh, I can have a Lakitu throw angry wigglers. Oh my god, this is this game.
And yeah,
like just seeing this, you could see that moment when it really clicked for you, and not even having played it a ton, I could just tell that he was like in love with this game.
Yeah, I picked it up very quickly, and I threw together a little level on Mike's and uploaded it, and it was incredibly intuitive how to put that game together. And, it helps knowing the mechanics, but I spent a lot of time playing Little Big Planet with a friend of mine, and God, I just couldn't do it. And there's a lot of games like I've never been one for make your own game, make your own adventure kind of stuff. I want to have an experience laid out in front of me, but that was so easy and intuitive and fun to do. It was really exciting to start to bang on the tools, learn how they work, run against the levels, see if I could figure out if it would work or not. Different advanced strategies you could use to advance through it. And I am actively shopping for a Wii U right now. That is how hard this game has hit me. That I am looking to buy a console so that I can have this game in my hands and play more of it.
I'm gonna have to start making some levels for you, buddy.
Yeah, I know, but this game not only is a great game, but had the most impact on me through watching it, playing it, being a part of it. I'm not going to have the same emotional experiences I might during a cutscene during Metal Gear Solid or Fallout, but the overall package is just so fun. And when I wasn't playing Mario Maker and I saw the gamepad sitting there while I was sitting in my extra living room, I was like, I could just pick it up and keep playing. And I thought when I was watching the people play that, and I thought, I really want to get Super Mario Maker. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go play Super Mario Brothers instead, just to satiate the urge. So I'm getting some Mario under my fingers. And all it did was make me want to do it more.
Oh, no.
Because I realized all I want to do is get in a level and bang on it until I'm done with it, and then move on. So if that means I die 1,000 times, that means I die 1,000 times. But I just want to get in a level, I want to bang on it, finish it, move on to the next thing. So, if anything, Mario Maker really kind of fits the way that I want to play Mario. So, yeah, my number one game of the year is Super Mario Maker.
That's a good choice. That's a really good game.
That is a good ass game. All right, so I'm gonna recap my list real quick here. So number 5, Fallout 4. Number 4, that was Fallout 4. Number 4, Lifeline. Number 3, Duck Game. Number 2, Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. And number 1, Super Mario Maker.
And mine are Grow Home at number 5, Mario Maker at number 4, Bloodborne at 3, Rocket League at 2, and Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain at number 1.
Nice, we did it this year. And I had 2 more quick honorable mentions before we get out. The 2 games of 2015 that I can't wait to get into and we'll probably hear from in 2016. For me, Axiom Verge and Soma. Those are 2 games I didn't have time for this year, but God, I am very excited to get into those games. So
those look like cool games.
I'm very excited about that. So who knows? Maybe they'll make it into the old games of 2016. They're in with a shout.
Who knows? We'll find out.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for listening. Those are our games. Maybe in the future sometime we'll get together and we'll fight each other and try and make a overall list.
Whoa.
That could be fun. Who doesn't
Right.
like listening to us argue?
Well, hey,
I
you know
do.
what?
But if you want to stick around to make sure you see that, click the subscribe button. Make sure you get updated on our podcast. We got a lot of stuff hitting here soon. You can follow us on Facebook at Unscripted Gaming and get at us on Twitter at unscript_gaming.
If you send us a dumb question, we'll answer it.
Yes, Mike wants to answer a question, so get at us. But thank you so much for listening. This has been Unscripted Gaming. I'm Josh.
Mike, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.